I wanted to do an indie press like spotlight, or small press spotlight. So this is gonna be my first like one. I think last year or the year before, I don't remember, I was trying to do something similar, but I decided that I wanted to make this like a more broad scope situation where I am going to discuss the publisher a little tiny bit, and then do like just kind of a brief overview of the books of theirs that I've read and the books of theirs that I have on my TBR unread, just so you guys can get an idea kind of the publisher, as opposed to just doing like one review of one book, which is maybe like too narrow. So today, surprise, surprise, Tin House. I wanted to mention Tin House first just because it required the least amount of effort on my part, because I own quite a few Tin House books, and also because they're a Portland-based publisher, which is where I currently live. So Tin House, after picking the books off my shelves that belong to Tin House, that are Tin House books, I don't really know what to say. I will say they are a fan of the Naked hardcover, which I'm a huge fan of. And yeah, it's interesting. So I will link below the Tin House website, and then I'll also link below, they have a podcast. Surprise, surprise. I feel like everyone has a podcast, but they have a podcast called Between the Covers. So they're long form, in-depth conversations, I assume, with authors. I see Courtney Mom on here, which I have read one of her books. And I don't know if it's only Tin House books that they feature on the podcast, because I just found out that they have a podcast right now before getting ready to make this video. And I don't have enough, time or willpower to investigate that. But anyways, so I just want to start off by saying that Tin House started off as a literary magazine. So I think I've got the website up over here. In 99 is when the first issue of Tin House came out, and then they started printing books in 2002 as an imprint of Bloomsbury, and then in 2005 they became an independent publisher. So I do have quite a few of the Tin House magazines. I didn't pull them all because that would be super annoying. They're kind of heavy, but I did want to pick the first and last one. So they only ran for 20 years. They have clearly moved into the book publishing as opposed to the literary magazine. I can't think of the words, but anyway, so this is Tin House, the premiere issue. This is volume 1, and so you can see it's really quite shiny. I have some of them, and they are shiny, and the paper is like regular. I don't know. I haven't read this, but the vibes of it are more old-timey. That's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. It's quite obvious that's like a first issue, and then oh my gosh, excuse me, this is their last issue. So all of them in the last, since I've been, well, I guess now they're not publishing these anymore, but I became a subscriber at some point, maybe in 2015 or 2016, and all of them are so like they I don't know, you can just tell that they have grown and put a lot of thought and energy. Man. Okay, sorry. I'm still having really bad allergies. So on the back here, it has, 1999, 2019. And they put a lot of, I don't know, it looks, I don't know if more cutesy is the right word, but there's a lot of stylistic changes kind of that I think have improved the look of it, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. I assume that you can buy issues of Tin House probably still from the website. I think when I looked, when I was looking through their catalog, I saw a couple of them like here and there. I do want to own all of them, so hopefully I can get my hands on all of them, but again, that's just life. So I'm gonna first actually mention that I did unhaul one of their books, and that was Dryland by Sarah Jaffe, I think. And it was, I'm going to enter a picture of it here. And to be honest, if I knew it was a Tin House book, I might not have DNF'd it. But just based on the way the cover looks and the fact that it's coming of age, I'm just not Although now I'm reading it and it's about the HIV/AIDS epidemic. I think it was an arc, so I think I'm still okay with it. Maybe I'll want to read it eventually. Anyways, okay. So I'll run down the books that I have read of Tin House. So the first one that I have here is 99 Stories of God by Joy Williams, and this is like a flash fiction. So it's 99 stories, and they're all quite small. I've tabbed a few of them. Maybe if this video isn't too long, I'll read something at the end. But I did really enjoy this. And then I read this one. This is, I think, the most recent Tin House book that I read. And it is Ursula K. Le Guin, Conversations on Writing with David Naiman. And it's an interview or conversation between David and Ursula. And it's broken up into sections: poetry, fiction, and nonfiction. And I thought this was interesting too. I will say after reading this that I'm not really interested in reading her poetry. But I am super interested in reading her nonfiction, which is funny because I feel like when they were talking, it seemed like she wasn't as, I don't know, she didn't seem like the nonfiction portion of her writing was like as important maybe to her. Maybe I'm just like misremembering, but I feel like she leaned more towards the poetry aspect. Then we have Magical Negro by Morgan Parker, and this is a poetry collection. Morgan Parker also wrote There Are More Beautiful Things Than Beyonce, which I think was like kind of popular on BookTube. When it's signed, I forgot. We saw Morgan was on a panel with a couple of other people at Wordstock or Portland Book Festival, and this was phenomenal, and I definitely want all of Morgan Parker's books, and I really, really enjoyed this. Then we have this super popular book, The New and Improved Romy Fetch by Julia Elliott. It's funny saying that right now because I've been on BookTube for 8 years, and so it's weird to say that because obviously no one talks about this book anymore. But when it came out, it was so popular. Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings, I think, like loved it. Hopefully I'm not misremembering that as well. But this book was super weird. And I will say, again, after picking up the books, especially these next ones that I'm going to run down, they clearly pick books that are just kind of a little bit odd. Did I mention this is by Julia Elliott? I don't remember. Anyways, in this book, we're following a taxidermist who's down on his luck. I think his wife has left him. He's just, his life is kind of shit. And then he gets invited to participate in a research project. And then things get literally bonkers from there. I don't know if you can tell based on the cover, but things go super off the rails. If you haven't read this book and you're into, I feel like, again, it's like the fabulist fiction, which I'm still not quite sure what that term means, but yeah, this was really weird, and again, was so popular on BookTube when it came out, like in 2015 or 2015, which is just so wild to me, how much time has passed and how long I've been on here. Anyways, then we have The Wild by, also by Julia Elliott. Is it embarrassing that I didn't realize these two books were by the same author until this exact moment? And now that I'm thinking about it, it makes total sense. I don't really remember anything about these short stories. It's a short story collection. Because again, I read this probably a very long time ago, but, oh, and I want to apologize. Earlier I said that Tin House is Portland based. It's Portland and Brooklyn based. So, I just saw that on the back of this book and I apologize. I feel like Brooklyn is the Portland of New York, right? Okay. Anyways, I don't remember, but I do know that this cover is the vibes of the book, even though I don't remember any stories individually. And I am realizing that I would like to reread this probably. That's the only problem with short story collections is that usually you enjoy them while you're reading them, but they don't have a huge lasting effect on you because, they go by pretty quickly. Then Our Endless Numbered Days by Claire Fuller, which also I think was pretty hyped here on BookTube. And again, I don't know if you can see all of these lovely, this is the next book I'm going to talk about, but these beautiful naked hardcovers are just, anyways, yeah, this is like a story of a young girl and her father, and the father like takes her away and basically says that the world has ended. And so they have to kind of like live in the wilderness, and it's so good and it's so messed up, and I feel like a lot of people really didn't like, because I think there's some elements of like child sexual abuse in this book, but it's not graphic. It's just maybe hinted at, but it really, really upsets people because obviously that is upsetting. Again, I can handle things in books pretty well. In real life, I can't. I cry. But I just feel like her writing is so good. It's like, it's just so good. I really, really liked this book. And look at that axe on the back. So I also am going to read everything that Claire Fuller writes. Then we have Costa Alegre, which is by Courtney Maum. And this is the one that I read when I was originally doing or trying to do some version of this kind of idea. And so I have a full review and I will link it below. I think this is like loosely based on an actual person, but I can't remember. I think, is it, I can't remember who, hold on one second. Okay, so it's based on Peggy Guggenheim and her daughter, Pegeen, or Pegeen. What an interesting name to give to your daughter. So it's, you know, a bunch of artsy fartsy type people that I think they like took a bunch of art with them from Europe to, oh, it's literally on the front of the book, but basically it has to do with Hitler, World War II, and them trying to take, to prevent the destruction of her favorite art and artists, the impetuous American heiress and modern art collector Lenora Calloway, which is the fictional character in this book, begins chartering boats and planes for an elite group of surrealists to Costa Alegre, a mysterious resort in the Mexican jungle. So it's, you know, told from the daughter's perspective, who's a 15-year-old, and it's just, you know, a bunch of weird, rich, eccentric people who are artists. So, you know, it's a weird time. And then the last Tin House book that I have read is How to Order the Universe by Maria Jose Ferrada, translated by Elizabeth Breyer. And again, another beautiful naked hardcover. And I got this in my Literati Insisto subscription box, which is from Literati bookstore in Ann Arbor. And so I'll link that down below too. They always send out, each month they send out a different book from a small press. And I have another one sent from them in this stack as well. But yeah, this is the story of, and now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of these are focused, I mean, at least these are focused on young girls, and then I DNF'd that other one that also is. So that's kind of interesting in retrospect. But anyways, so we're following a young girl and her father, and he's like a traveling salesman person. He, you know, tries to sell crap to people, and so he's kind of using his daughter, he's taking her out of school when he's not supposed to be, and using her to sell his wares. And so it's just kind of like about their relationship. I felt a lot of feelings while reading this, you know, because daddy issues, classic. And yeah, it's, I also, I'm pretty sure at some point, you know, she grows up and then she tries to, maybe he dies, or she tries to, you know, find him again. There's some kind of, you know, gap in time and her trying to, you know, come to terms with things, I believe. But again, it's quite small and I read it quite quickly because look, you know, it's just such a quick read. So another one that I should probably reread. Then I have another one that I started, Kiss Me Someone by Karen Shepard, another naked hardcover that I have not finished. This author, I believe, let me look her up. Yeah, I only read the first one and I don't even remember, but she is a Chinese American author. So I feel like at least the one that I read had to do with that. And I feel, yeah, so, you know, I assume that thematically that's going to be in here just because it's mentioned in the first two stories a little bit, but I don't have enough to say about it because I haven't read it. And so on kind of that note, let's just run through the books hopefully really quickly since I don't have as much to say about them that I have not read that are on my TBR. I'm going to start with the only two that are not by American authors, which is something that I noticed when I was picking these books, is that this This one is the only one that I have that's in translation. Even maybe Divide Me by Zero is translated, but most of these books are by US authors, which is a little disappointing. But I feel like, I guess when you are a publisher, there's different spaces to live in, and I do think that they are having more translated books now. But you know, it is important to promote local authors too. And I know, I think because of what I prefer in a book, my preference would be the intersection of translated and small press. That's like my ideal. But again, I obviously there are wonderful local authors and authors in the United States that are not being published, you know, by Penguin or whomever, so they need a place to be represented. And I will say, like, on kind of a similar note, I do feel like almost every single one of these books that I have are by female authors. There is one, maybe just one that's by a man specifically, and then the Conversations with Ursula K. Le Guin is also by a male author, but it's, you know, again, a conversation. So that's great that they're basically all women. But I don't know if this is just what I happen to have, because most of these books were sent to me in subscription boxes. So the Powell's Indispensable box, I have received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At a minimum, 5 of these are from 6. At a minimum, 6 of these are from Powell's Indispensable boxes, and then again, 2 of them are from my Literati Insisto box. So, you know, I didn't personally pick some of these books, but anyways, on that note, this is a Powell's Indispensable book, and so that means that it is translated. It's signed. So that's so cool because this author is fire. I haven't read this book yet though, but that's okay. This is the author of Kintu, and I really, really can't wait to read this. I mean, I obviously can because I have, but I am so excited to read this. Yes. Just holding it makes me happy, to be honest with you. And then I also have this one, which is an ARC, again, that I feel very confident I got in a Powell's box, Divide Me by Zero by Laura Vapnyar. And this is a Russian author, I believe. And is it translated? It doesn't look like it. No. She came to the US from Russia in '94, and I would be really impressed if she didn't learn any English in the, 20 years. So this is also written in English, but again, at least it's kind of, yeah. Oh well. Then I have another ARC that I think I got at like a indie bookstore day. You know, sometimes you'll buy a book and then they have free ARCs that have like stuff written on it, like they're packaged and they have stuff written on them. I don't know. But this is a memoir, Things We Didn't Talk About When I Was a Girl by Jenny Vanasco. And I don't really know what this is about, other than it's about things we didn't talk about when I was a girl. I'm sure it's gonna be hard hitting. And then the only book that is just by a man that's on here is Loitering, New and Collected Essays by Charles D'Ambrosio. Again, I have nothing to say other than I have been wanting to read this for a really, really long time since I got it, and I haven't. Then The Way She Feels, My Life on the Borderline in Pictures and Pieces by Courtney Cook. This is the other book that I got in my Literati Insisto subscription, and this is a like graphic memoir, but also not memoir. There's pictures and words, both, so best of both worlds. And yeah, I also am really excited to read that one. Then I have another beautiful naked hardcover, The Changeling by Joy Williams, with an introduction by Karen Russell. And can't tell you anything about that one. Then we have A Rabbit Cake by Annie Hartnett, and this is the most recent acquisition of theirs, I think. I bought this at the last Portland Book Festival. They always have a book fair, and Tin House is always there, and I always buy something. So this is the one that I bought last time. I don't know. Oh, that's why I bought it. It's because the main character is called Elvis Babbitt. Anyways, yeah, because that reminds me of Eve Babbitts or something like that. So I thought that was really funny. I assume it's an homage because that's like too weird of a coincidence for it not to be right. But I have no idea anything about it besides that. But again, another young female protagonist for sure in that book. Then, oh, this one is also a literati insisto. They have a typewriter, and so they type out a letter. I assume they just type it once and then make photocopies of it because that would be exhausting. And then they just, you know, they write your name and sign it. But anyways, I don't know anything about this one. Scorpion Fish by Natalie Bakopoulos. You know, I don't know. And then the last one is Mostly Dead Things, and this is another Powell's Indispensable. I have unsubscribed to Powell's Indispensable because a lot of the times I was not interested in the books or whatever. But this is Mostly Dead Things by Kristen Arnett, who is also on the panel with Morgan Parker and someone else. I can't remember who, but this has to do with Florida and birds maybe and taxidermy. I don't know if taxidermy is correct. Yeah, more taxidermy. Man, Tin House is really into taxidermy narratives. So anyways, those are the books that I have. So yeah, I am into Tin House. Again, I do find it slightly disappointing there are more translated books in their catalog, but I think there's lots of other independent or small press, small publishers that do hit that market. So it is, again, important to tell all kinds of stories. So I can't fault them too much. But, you know, we all have our biases that we can't control sometimes, even though we think that we can. So yeah, if you have read some Tin House books you want to recommend to me, or if you have any, you know, interest in any of these books, let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.